Everybody. Today we're going to continue off with some of our tutorials. Sorry I haven't really released much recently. I've been a little bit busy here. I've been working on an advanced shop. So far this is what I have here. I have the full sell function complete because the purchase function is the easiest part to make out of this. So I have 10 buttons here. I could add as many as I want. Each of these buttons are constantly checking and scanning for the items in your bag. So if you have an item in slot 1, this button will become available. The 0 will turn into how many are stacked of that item. If the item is stackable, there will be more than one, and it'll tell you the name. Once you click on the button, it'll pop the name, the description, the name down here as well, plus the price. I guess I could remove the name that shows up in here with the description and then just drag this up there. The sell button, it does everything the way it should. So let's just show you exactly how it works, and then we'll get down to showing you guys how to make it, and then we'll move on to the buy half in the next part of this tutorial. So start the game right now. I have 4 items on the floor here. So let's grab that small potion and our 3 swords. So our swords are not stackable. We have 3 separate swords in here plus the 1 potion, which if we had another potion would be stackable. Now if we open up or enable our canvas for our shop, as you can see it has loaded, disabled all the buttons and enabled all the right ones. We have our small potion, its description. We can switch between each item. Obviously these 3 are exactly the same, and we can sell them, and they will each remove respectively from its slot and disable the sell button. So to create this, pretty simple. Just start off with your basic canvas. I like to use a dash in the center to kind of like keep things, in perspective for me. So I named that canvas dash shop. Now we're going to create a panel, which will be the main panel. You're going to want to make your panel shop items, which is this panel here. So it's a panel on top of the panel, but it's half a panel. And then we have our panel bag items, which has all of our bag information here. So let's start designing everything within our panel bag items. So a few things you're going to want to add is a couple panels, a text info for up here temporarily. You don't need to put that there unless you want to just keep yourself notified on what that portion's doing for you. So we'll start off back into our regular canvas. Let's add a few strings. Our first string local variable is going to be selected bag item. So this way when we select the button here, it's going to set that item in here, the name, and then it's going to set the item base value so that when we sell it we know what its base value is, and then there's the selected bag item description, SBI description. So those 3 are strings, local variables. Now let's see what we're doing. No, we're not doing anything in there. We're just using this supply blocks just for our local variables. Maybe later we'll use it for other things, but for now just our local variables. Let's go back down into our panel bag items, and we can start creating generally what we want now. So let's create, or if you've already created the copy of what we're looking at here, you're going to open up our panel list background. Once we open that, you'll notice that we actually have a scroll view now, which has our bag list. We have our contents of 10 buttons, as you see here. So to start off, create your first button. Your first button's going to have two texts. One's going to be text bag slot 1 and then text stack size. This is important so that your number is your stack size and how many of those you have, and then the name itself. Inside your name slot here and your stack size slot here, you'll go on each text, add a ply blocks. Each text has its own ply blocks, mainly so that it can set itself based off of what you have in your bag. So we're going to check with an if then. So go to your flow, grab your if, and we're going to want the A equals B. Now we're going to check if the game object in our bag, slot 0, which is our first slot under the hood technically, is null. So basically, we want to go to our items tab here. We want to get item from bag slot, so get item in slot, drop that in there, put a 0 and of player, and then equals. Scroll to the top, click item or item 2 if you have downloaded the extra blocks that are available on the forums. I'd suggest you download those just in case. I'll put the link in the description in case I end up using any of those that you guys don't have and you wonder, oh, why I don't have that. It's because you might need the extra blocks that Leslie has created. So just rustle your way over there whenever you have the time and then continue back over this. Now when you use item in here, it's normally going to ask you to select an item like so. But just go over to your common, grab a string, and drop the string off in the middle, and set the string to nothing so that it looks like it's null. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set the text on self to null if there is no item in the bag. If there is an item in the bag, which is what our else feature is doing, it's going to set the text equals get bag slot 0 of player as string. So as string is something that everybody needs. I'm sure I've said this before in previous tutorials. When you're looking to get a string of something, to set it as a string, you need to set it as string. So we want to get the item's name as a string and not kind of like as a game object. So that's why we force as string, so that it's coming in as a string and not as a game object. This way we can just set it right away to our local variable. Now that this text has our information of our items, now our local variables are able to be set for this button. So when I click on this button, when we go up to our actual button instead of our texts, we now have a much bigger view of what we need to do. We're now going to be setting our local variables and setting the interactable true on our cell button when we select a button. Note that our onUpdate is doing the interactable here. So if our text.text from text bag slot 1, so if we close this down a little bit, if our text bag slot 1 is equal to null, we will set our interactable equals false, else true, so that this way the button is only usable when there is an item stored in your bag in that slot. Go back to our set cell items event. This event is a custom event that you will create because we want the button itself on click event to set cell items. If you guys don't remember how to do this, just drag and drop the bag item, so it's self item, into this little bay right here. Go to ply blocks, trigger event, and then type in set cell item. Make your custom and then start copying this work here. Might be a little bit confusing for you because we use a lot of our get property blocks. Very handy. So first off, we're going to want to set selected bag item in our canvas. So as earlier in our canvas, we have our 3 local variables that are going to be our selected items. This is our main stuff here. So to get this done, we are going to get the text.text from text bag slot 1. So now we're going to grab that text and set it to this. So that means when we click on this button, this selected bag item text is now selected to the bag slot 1 item. Next, it's going to do the same thing for our SBI description, our selected bag item description. I have a little bit of a long interface here. For one, I can get rid of the name right here. So I can just kind of get rid of this. So just pop that in there and get rid of the name here. Let me string A plus B. Yeah, we don't want the name in there. I'll just cut this, put this here. I'll just take the space, one of these spaces out here, a space so that it's a little bit lower from the top of the thing. I don't want it to be like right at the top of the text or the border. This way it looks a little bit spacey. It'll have the text, and now I will rearrange the UI so that that UI block I have down there, it will do that simple name for us there. So basically what we're going to be doing here is, to set this, we're going to be getting our string A plus B from our common at the very bottom. Just place that in there. Yes, you will use as string, just because as string definitely helps. It might not be necessary, but it works just the same with it there. So give or take, if you guys decide not to use the as string blocks in between the string A plus B, if it doesn't work, there's that reason. If it does work, then cool shit. Now, basically, we have a local variable called description inside of the items. So to show you, let's go to our items, let's go to our sword here, and we have a description. But for whatever reason, the get property block does not have any function that'll get us the description. It'll get us everything else but the description. So write a description, copy the description, and create a local variable and call it description, and then just paste your description in there. Once you have your description pasted in there, we can now move on. So we want the local variable in get bag item from bag slot 0 of player. So because this is again still the first slot of the bag that we're trying to read from at all times, this one button always reads from the first slot of the bag. I know it might sound confusing in some way, but this one button is the first slot's representation in the shop. So description in that game object that's in our bag. Now we want to set the base value. So to get the base value, again another get property block as string item.baseValue. Capitalization within this stuff when you're getting a property is highly important. Highly important. So capital I for item dot lowercase base, and then one word base value but capital V. I can't really zoom in on that for you guys, but full screen should be HD for you to read anyway. And again, it's on the first slot, which is 0 under the hood, and then we're going to set interactable on the sell button to true, because now that there's information in there, we want to let the sell button sell something. And I believe that is pretty much all the mechanics right there. So yeah, that is most of the mechanics. It's setting everything. Now, most of those texts, like I told you, that you see right here for our description, each of these are their own panels. So like panel selected item, it's got its own text that's constantly checking, well, constantly setting the text to selected bag item. So anytime the selected bag item local variable changes, so will the selected bag item's text. So that would be the name right here when I disable it. So now I want to raise this name up So let's put the name like here or something. There we go. And now I am going to move this down a little bit. There we go. And then maybe we'll put the text of that in the middle. There we go. Perfect. There's the name of the item that shows up at the top, our description, the price, our sell button. Everything is happening flawlessly. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Our sell button. Perfect. Sell text is just the basic text. Our sell button's now got nothing really to it. Just add yourself a apply blocks to it. And inside our sell button, remember you have to use the on-click event, so just drag itself in there, add a sell event to it, custom event sell, create it. You'll set the interactable equals false on self right away. So this way you can't click the button again and maybe glitch into a second sell. You know what I mean? This way you don't get double the money for some reason. So now you'll remove as string the item. So you will use item from our items. So you could use item to our item if you downloaded the extra blocks that Leslie made. Like I said, download those. It'd be easier because item 2 does not display errors if the item does not exist, kind of thing. So selected bag item in canvas as string from player of bag, and then it has the number here already set to 1, and we set it to always destroy. Then we're gonna add currency. So currency, add to bag, item base value as integer. So it starts off as string, but then we want it to turn from a string into an integer so that it can come out into our currency. And then we're going to want to set our 3 local variables on our canvas to null. So basically you're just going to want to go to common, grab a string, add the string there, and then just delete the ABC and leave it as null so that the string is empty. Voila. So we have the button, each of the buttons set automatically. We have this. I'm pretty sure that is everything that you need. That's everything that I've done so far. So again, at the end of this, if you check it out, we have a very highly working system. So I'm going to go here actually. We'll click on our potion. Let's duplicate a few of these just so we have a few more in the game. Just to show off a bit of the stacking system, pretty much, and how that's working. So, because this stacks, and you know that the stacking system already works based off of Leslie's work. But I just really wanted to make a very advanced looking shop. So now when you look in the shop again, the only 10 available buttons right now. So I actually have 50 slots in my bag. So that means I'm going to want to make 50 of these buttons over time so that I can sell. Right now, technically, because I'm using slot for slot, and I'm not like using weight or having one item take more than 1 slot in my bag, then I could technically use the rearrange button so that it rearranges the inventory to the available slots. So since we have, let's say I delete one of these small potions here, see it went down to 2, or let's say I'll delete this sword, but let's say I have items all here, but I now have a free space here, and I'd like that space to change. If I was to have a button that rearranged which I can do, but I'm not going to do because I'm going to add all the other buttons, but temporarily it's just a button that has a small event that's just going to call the rearrange event that's in your inventory area, and pretty much it'll just set whatever items that are available into the new available items that are ahead of it, kind of thing, so that this slot will be occupied instead of no slots, kind of thing. That makes no sense. Anyway, but this free slot would become occupied if, let's say, there was this here or this here. So if I was to actually call this would move up one kind of thing. It's always going to reorganize kind of thing. That's only if you're, again, using a shop similar to, or an inventory that only uses one item, like this. So like if you have like a game where you're using, let's say, 3 of these for a sword, kind of like Diablo, then it's not going to work the same. So this is literally just for this type of bag system this will work for. I have other versions of shops that I've designed where like you just kind of type in the name and then press enter and then it would sell your item, but I figured you guys wanted something that's more like a regular video game and very visualistic, and you can just click on it and it'll change between the two, like simple. So voila. Another thing though is that when I click sell, you'll end up having to click that item again. I'm going to be adding, for the next tutorial, there will be a spot for you to input the amount of the item you'd like to sell. That'll be in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys. If for whatever reason I left anything out, I'll make sure it's in the next episode, or tutorial I should say. Take care. Thanks for watching.